These people you call your friends in your life who make fun of you, who belittle you, especially when you start to do something that you are genuinely passionate about, they are not your friends. A true friend would see your gifts and tell you to keep going. A true friend might tell you some constructive criticism, but they will never downplay your gifts and your dreams and say that you are never going to make it to where you are. They are doing that out of jealousy, out of their box that they've been conditioned into. Stop allowing the fear of being seen control every single aspect of your life to the point where you're not even yourself anymore. This video specifically talks about the feeling of being boxed in. We're not really going into the fear of being seen because even if you don't have a fear of being seen per se, you still can box yourself in. Like for example, let's say you don't really have a fear of being seen, you're a natural communicator, however, you feel like you have to communicate about certain things. You have to look pristine. You have to look the part before you actually believe that you are the part. If you're new here, hi, my name's Natalie, and this is where I share ways I'm getting my shit together so that you can get your shit together. If that sounds good to you, please be sure to like this video. I don't even care if you subscribe. Wait until the end, see if you vibe with me, and then subscribe, but please like this video. I want you to comment down below how you're feeling boxed in right now. And I'm gonna do this at the same exact time as you. So quick story, I recently just transferred to a university after being at community college, and I'm trying to establish myself as a professional in marketing. I have been doing YouTube ever since I was like 12 years old. Like, this is my passion in life. However, I say shit on the internet. You know, I curse once in a while, God forbid. This is just who I am, and I am very confident in who I am, yet I notice that I've been boxing myself in and trying to make myself more marketable to people, when in reality that's actually suppressing my authentic self and putting me in this type of box. When you box yourself in, sometimes there's different reasons or different types of boxes that you might place yourself in. So I made a list of all of the purposes of boxing yourself in. When we think of a box, its purpose is to contain whatever is inside it. When you think of a package, it's meant to conceal whatever goods are inside, which means it's meant to protect you in some way, shape, or form. And then last but not least, if the box is see-through, it's meant to display. So what I'm really getting at is not all boxes that you place yourself in are the same. And we're going to be essentially taking all the ways you box yourself in this video and exploring them. I can preach to you all day to stop boxing yourself in and be yourself, but a lot of you are still trying to figure out who exactly you are. And that's okay. It's a lifelong process. But the question is, are you comfortable in that box? If you think of a sauna, right? We purposefully go into the sauna in order to sweat out toxins. Some boxes or labels we place on ourselves actually help us at some points in our life. But if we stay inside that sauna, if we stay inside that box, we're inevitably going to faint. We are going to sweat out the entirety of who we are. We're not even going to recognize ourselves. And so in this box analogy, I really want you to ask yourself what you feel like you're boxing yourself in with specifically. Just think about it. We are constantly receiving messages on who we're supposed to be by society. A lot of the concept of who you are has come from the conditioning of you growing up in a household that's either accepted who you are or rejected certain parts of you. Those rejected parts of you are still within you, but when you actually identify them and start to act in alignment with them, you'll often feel this sense of shame. This shame was never yours to begin with. It was placed onto us from people in our lives telling us who we should or shouldn't be. That's why every single time you try to break outside of this box, you don't necessarily know how to go about it. You fear other people's judgment. Additionally, you feel outcasted. You don't really feel like you're a part of a group. You feel like you're isolated and alone. The main reason you stopped being able to express your authentic self is you started to believe that the perceived consequences for being yourself outweighed the benefits. You believed that in order to be accepted, you have to reject yourself. And that's really why you put yourself in this box. You put yourself in this box in order to fit in order to be accepted. And this box can relate to the fear of being seen, but it doesn't always have to. You might be really good at performing. You might be really good at putting on an image, but it's only that. It's just an image. You don't really know how to articulate the deepest, darkest parts of yourself to people in your life. This puts you in a state of cognitive dissonance where you're conflicted on what you truly believe. You believe in yourself, you feel confident in yourself in the way you go about things in your life. Maybe you have a really good job, you have really good friends who support you, you have people in your life who care about you, but why do you feel like they only care about a certain part of you? It's like you'll give people the advice of accept yourself, but here you are rejecting certain parts of yourself. I understand this. I've been there. I always make videos that are kind of in relation to things I'm going through in my life. So as I've currently gone through this phase of feeling boxed in, a lot of embarrassment and shame has come up, because a lot of the reason why I like doing YouTube so much is I like being able to share authentically. But then there's this aspect of my personality that isn't really like professional, right? I have fears come up. Am I ever going to get a job? Am I ever going to get the things I want in life? What is going to happen? And the more you focus on the outcomes or people's reactions of you being your authentic self, the more overwhelmed you become about taking any action towards that most authentic version of yourself. Because in reality, people's reactions to you being who you are is not your problem. It's not your problem how people react to you finally accepting parts of yourself you've been rejecting for years. There is a difference between what type of box you placed yourself in. Deciding to go in a sauna is like conforming to societal norms that aren't inherently negative or positive, they're just neutral. For example, professionalism, right? A lot of people will be fearful that they don't want to post online, they don't want to come off as unprofessional, therefore they fit themselves in a box. Being a professional is seen as an inherently good thing, however, you do have to leave who you are at the door. A lot of the times that's what people say, leave who you are at the door when you go into work. Societal norms are established in order to make us all aware of the box. If you act outside of this box, we might critique you, we might bully you, we might outcast you. And these are genuine human fears that every single person is ingrained with. A lot of people on YouTube will come on here and try to tell you, oh, you need to stop fearing rejection. Every single person fears it, it's just what you do with that fear. How do you respond to that fear? Do you allow it to consume you, or do you allow it to change you? So what happens inside the sauna? You go in and you start to sweat out certain toxins. You become more considerate to other people. You work in customer service. You start to realize that other people have lives that they're living. You might even start to people please because you see other people's struggles for what they are. The box that society puts you in is not always a bad thing, but it's a negative thing once you allow it to consume you. Because not only are you sweating out toxins, you're sweating out a part of who you are. But the question is that sauna that you're placing yourself in inhibiting you from who you are? Just because you can't take the heat of the sauna doesn't mean that you are inherently flawed. Sometimes it means you're not in the right environment to thrive. You are putting yourself in a box that's not made for you. It doesn't mean the entire box is designed to hurt you. And this is the complexity of why we box ourselves in. Because we don't do things because we know they're bad for us. We don't try to inhibit who we actually are. We find ourselves in places where we value others' opinions over who we actually are. But what if you don't always have to choose? This is something that I started to think of, right? When I go into this sauna of professionalism, I learn to negotiate and network with other people in a business sense, but I also recognize who I actually am and the fact that my podcast and the things I post online, they're my passion. Right? This is what I love to do. And any job that would make me compromise this part of myself is not for me. So you can go in the sauna and you can leave the sauna when you don't feel like conforming anymore. There is a difference between a sauna box and a box someone places you in order to keep you stuck. We consent to going inside the sauna. We consent to those societal norms, but we don't consent to when someone says, this is who you're supposed to be. And if you aren't this, I'm not going to be in your life. And I have a personal problem with who you actually are. You know those like doll collectors who never take the doll out of the box? Sometimes I felt like that doll in the box, right? I'm just there to perform. I don't serve any other purpose in this box except for containing who I actually am. I'm not being used as God wants me to be used. Gifts are made to be open, and the people in your life that have you, they open this Christmas gift and they just go, "Oh, this is not what I was expecting." You would think that person is entitled. You might even call them out for being rude and be like, "Wow, like I just gave you a gift and that's what you have to say about it? Sorry you don't like it." And then once they open the gift, they don't return it. They decide to keep the gift up in their closet. They never touch it, they never look at it, they never use it. A lot of people assume that your presence in their life is a gift that they are entitled to. Do not let people feel comfortable displaying you, keeping you in a box, and doing absolutely nothing with you. They are keeping you from God's purpose that He set out for you. You are a gift. You have a purpose, and by keeping yourself in that box around these people who don't intend to use your talents but instead sabotage them, instead keep you inside and keep you quiet for their own benefit, those are dangerous people. These people you call your friends in your life who make fun of you, who belittle you, especially when you start to do something that you are genuinely passionate about, they are not your friends. A true friend would see your gifts and tell you to keep going. A true friend might tell you some constructive criticism, but they will never downplay your gifts and your dreams and say that you are never going to make it to where you are. They are doing that out of jealousy, out of their box that they've been conditioned into. On the flip side, though, you are choosing to stay in this box. You're choosing it. Sometimes we find ourselves stepping into boxes that we didn't even know existed, right? And then we become aware that we're boxing ourselves in. Typically, once you become aware that you are suppressing who you actually are, it's because that part of you is no longer relevant. You are not meant to be that version of yourself anymore. You're becoming aware of the walls that have been placed around you because you're meant to break out of them. Whereas before, you were okay with the walls because you didn't know they existed. But once you start becoming claustrophobic, once you start realizing that this box is inhibiting you, that you don't feel like your true authentic self, that's when you need to snap out of it. If you irritate others by simply being yourself, your gifts are not for them, and they are childish. You know who does that? A child. A child will open a gift and say, "It's not what I wanted." A child does that, not an adult who has their own money, who has their own things going on. These people who talk about you, who are full-grown adults, are obsessed with you. I'm not saying that to get your head big. I'm saying that to bring you into the actual reality you're living in. Some people are obsessed with you because they cannot beat you. I want to briefly hit on ways to break out of this box, and honestly, it happens naturally. And I know that's not really the response that you wanted to hear from me, but when you're ready to break out of a certain way you've been doing things, it's an instant mindset shift. Instead of thinking, what do they think about me? You start thinking, what do I think about them? Instead of worrying about how you're being perceived, you start to understand that your inherent value is enough. You are enough, not by trying to be something you're not, but by accepting who you currently are. Shadow work is the best way to explore who you really are in those times where you don't really feel like yourself and you need to connect back with yourself. This is what I've been doing the last week. I'm on spring break right now, and honestly, I got so burnt out. Something that I've been learning in college, and a huge box or limitation that college tries to place on a lot of people, is this hive mentality of you have to do things this way. This is the only way you succeed. I feared that I would lose myself, but one thing I'm starting to realize is two things can be true at once. I can be in academia and also be who I authentically am because it's 2025. People are making thousands of dollars on the internet right now for being themselves. This is a new emerging market that's only going to get bigger as time goes on. Oftentimes we feel like we have to choose between like either other people or opportunities or ourselves, but like there is a world where both exists. And in those times where there isn't a world where both exists, pick yourself every single time, because I refuse to live a life of regret. And so the last thing I'll leave you guys off with is once you break outside this box, try to avoid this otherness mentality. As we reject labels that people have placed onto us, sometimes we adopt this otherness mentality. We become so caught up in our individualism that we start to think that we're special and that other people are plotting against us. People are not plotting against you. These boxes that are in society are naturally occurring. Our mind literally does it naturally. That's why we have things like stereotypes and things. And obviously, our conscious mind knows to explore deeper into stereotypes and understanding other people's cultures, but our brain naturally puts things into categories. There is a balance of recognizing your own unique qualities and stepping into the highest, most abundant version of yourself, while also never allowing other people's judgments and perceptions to keep you down, because only you are responsible for your own happiness. With that being said, besties, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week to the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast. It's good to be back. I was feeling super burnt out, but again, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and comment down below what you're struggling with right now. For the people who made it to the end of this video, be sure to go check out the Get Your Shit Together community. Over 800 people are already seeing the benefits in their life from joining this free community. They're sharing ways that they're getting their shit together so that you can too. I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys next week.